Hey everybody, thanks for tuning back into OTRAMM's YouTube channel. Today I thought I'd go over the courtesy inspection that we do on vehicles as they come through the shop, especially vehicles we haven't seen before, so we can get a baseline and everybody is on the same page about the condition of the vehicle before we start doing any major repairs. And we've got a fancy phone app that hooks to our computer system so we can take notes, pictures, and everything transfers into the office, and then you guys get a digital copy of that. But we start out doing a computer scan, which I'm not going to show right now because it takes forever. But we go in, check for any codes, check for anything pending, make sure everything's good. And then we come out here and we'll check fluids. We'll check the oil, make sure oil's good. We'll snap a picture. Note, whether it's full. A lot of the newer vehicles, we're seeing them come in, with no oil showing on the dipstick. So we note that, so we know to tell people to check their oil more often. Okay, and then the next thing we would check is our coolant level. So this one's good. So we just take a picture of the coolant level, add it to the notes, and then we've got coolant test strips, and we just dip those in the fluid, and it'll tell us the freeze rating and how acidic the coolant is, and we take a picture of that, put it in the notes. This one, oddly enough, failed for acidity. I've never seen the Toyota Long Life coolant do that. So that one was an interesting one. Then we'll come around and we'll check brake fluid level and take a picture of it. That one's good. And then it would have helped if I had walked over with my tester. We've got a moisture meter to test on the brake fluid. So just stick that in there. So I don't know if you guys can see that on camera, but we're at 2% moisture, which is right on the line for what you want to see. So we would recommend changing that brake fluid in the near future. And again, I would take a picture of that, add it to the notes. And then we would check power steering fluid level, which again, this one's good. On older vehicles with a transmission dipstick, we would check transmission fluid. This one's new enough that there's no dipstick, so we're not going to do that. We would check the battery for cold cranking amps. So we've got our battery tester. We'd hook that up, check the battery, see what the condition is. Especially right now, it's the fall. We're heading into the colder months. So we want to get ahead of battery replacements. So we test them. And then while we're up here, we'd check the belts. You can't really see this one, but it's good. It's a little oxidized, but there's no cracking or glazing on it. We'd check all the hoses for signs of leaking, for being stiff. Give them the squeeze test. These were good. And then we would look for topside leaks. So the corner of both the valve covers on this truck are just starting to weep. So we would take pictures of that and note those in the report. And then we'd put the truck up in the air, or the car, whichever the case may be, and start checking underneath. So once we've got the vehicle up in the air, we'll go around, we'll shake the wheels, a couple of directions to make sure the wheel bearings, ball joints, tie rod ends are tight. This truck was happy. And then we'll get under here and we'll look at the steering rack boots to make sure they're dry. And we'll look at the tie rod end boots to make sure they're not torn or leaking grease. Same with the ball joints. These look good. I'm skipping ahead a little bit, but we check the sway bar links. And usually I'll just grab them and give them a shake, make sure we don't get any rattle. I'll check the CV boots, make sure they're not leaking. Check the shocks. This one, the shock body is actually corroded enough that it's leaking shock fluid through the lower body. So we would take a picture of that. We would look around to see if we've got any engine leaks, any coolant leaks, anything down here that we couldn't see from above. This one's actually pretty decent. We'd look look around for rust, for anything that looks askew. And then we'd come underneath, check the drive shafts, make sure everything's good there, make sure the U-joints are tight, make sure the slip joints are tight. This one I noticed, where was it? It's starting to get just a little bit of play in the slip joint, but not too bad yet. Ball joints all felt good. We'd check transfer case, transmission for leaks. This one's dry. Go over the exhaust. This one's getting a little corroded, but everything is still intact, and I don't see any signs of leaking. So nothing really to note there. Check the rear axle for leaks. Check the rear brakes. For any signs of axle leaking. And then on disc brakes, we would reach in. We've got feeler gauges, and we would check brake pad thickness. I don't think you're going to be able to see it on the camera, but we'd stick these in there and see how thick the brake pad's left to give us an idea of how soon it's going to be before somebody needs brakes. And then we just give the underside a good once over. Check all the fuel lines, the brake lines. Make sure, there's no rust. Nothing's going to pop going down the road. Check the frame for rust, the body for rust. This truck actually looks pretty decent. It's got surface rust, but nothing major. Then we'd lower it down and check all the lights. Make sure the headlights, parking lights, turn signals, all that jazz works. So you're not going to get pulled over in the middle of the night for a light bulb being out. And we check the wiper blades. And then that all goes into a report. So this is the report for that truck. And you'd get a report with all the code scan results as a PDF. And then, pictures of everything, battery testing. And if the truck's new enough, or the vehicle's new enough rather, we would also check TPMS sensors and the tire tread with a laser tire tread checker. And that would be a report on here. But yeah, so we like to do this. It gives everybody a good understanding of where their vehicle's at. And I checked the brake or the wipers and haven't checked them yet. I haven't checked the lights yet, so that's not checked. But anyway, I hope that gives you some insight into how we look over vehicles when they come to us for the first time. If you liked that video, found it useful, please like and subscribe, and I'll catch you next time. Thanks.